There's a lot of debate out there about whether organized religion is a source of good or evil in the world. I know that even some of you who come to this place that is in fact called a church every week, who even feel that this is a deeply meaningful community in your life, who plan your whole weeks around this 1 hour, even some of you are still skeptical about the ability of organized religion to be a force for good. Now, I'll be honest and say that there's a lot of justification for this skepticism. There are far too many examples from our history and our present of organized religion being used to oppress and terrorize. There are too many times when it has been used as a reason for us to turn against each other. All the way from the violence of the Crusades to the current threat of white Christian nationalism in our country, religion has too often been on the wrong side of history. And yet, at the same time, there are almost as many examples of religion as a force for good. So many of those voices that have called for peace and justice over the years have been people of faith speaking from their faith. From Gandhi to Mother Teresa to the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., this list could go on and on and on. So this question of religion as good or bad then is perhaps not the right question, or not a useful question at all. None of these examples can prove this one way or another. Organized religion is not categorically good or bad. It is, like so many things, value neutral. It is what we make of it. But if there's one thing that we can see from all these examples of religion being used for good or evil is that organized religion has power, right? Organized religion has the power of moral clarity, of this deep grounding in values that can cast a big vision for our future. Organized religion has the power to sustain us, to offer that spiritual nourishment that we need to keep on going, even when the world around us feels very, very hard. Organized religion has the power of an institution and all the capacity that brings with it, buildings and infrastructure and communication systems and more. And perhaps most of all, organized religion has the power of people. People who are in deep relationship with each other. People who can be mobilized together to do more than any one of us could do on our own. About 8 or 9 years ago, a handful of church ladies from this congregation were having dinner together and bemoaning the state of racial injustice in our country. At first, they felt like they couldn't do anything. They weren't sure what they as individuals could do, what impact they could have. We all know that feeling, right? I think we know it all too well these days. And then someone in the group remembered that actually they weren't just individuals. They were a part of something bigger. They were, in fact, a part of organized religion, a part of this church, and they recognized the power and potential in that relationship. And that, my friends, is the short version of how our racial justice working group began. Our work to help found the New Hampshire Community Bail Fund, our work to support immigrants here in Nashua and around our state, our work to uncover and begin to reconcile with our own congregation's participation in discrimination, all of that began when a few of you recognized and realized that you had access to a power greater than you as individuals, that you had at your hands an institution, and you chose to use that power for good. About 3 weeks ago, a small organization in Minnesota called March, Multi-Faith Anti-Racism, Change, and Healing, responded to the killing of Renee Good and the escalation of ICE efforts in the Twin Cities by putting out a call for clergy from across the country to come to Minneapolis. In 6 days, they organized a gathering of hundreds of clergy from across the country who came to learn, bear witness, and take action. Now, anyone here who has ever organized an event of any size will know that's a lot of work, right? It was a huge undertaking with an astonishingly quick timeline. But the groundwork for that gathering had been laid for years. They were able to mobilize so quickly because of the deep relationships and organizing that had already been happening in Minneapolis. And they were able to pull it off because of the institutional support of organized religion. One congregation gave over their entire building for 2 days of learning and action. Others collected cold weather gear for all the visiting clergy who were coming, who were not quite prepared for the realities of a Minnesota winter. Still others generated such a large list of homestay options that they didn't even end up using them all. And of course, the best power of church, they fed people. They fed them for 2 days. And at the center of the institutional support was our Unitarian Universalist Association Side with Love team. This entire staff team dropped everything else they were doing that week to support the call to Minneapolis. And they used all the institutional infrastructure that they had. They had the database that was robust enough to manage sign-ups and vetting of over 1,000 clergy who registered. They held massive Zoom calls to help people discern whether to come and prepare before they arrived. They sent many of their staff, including a reporter for the UU World magazine, to be present. As a small and mostly volunteer-run organization, March didn't have this kind of infrastructure, but our Unitarian Universalist Association did. They have been building that infrastructure for years now, and that work of building the infrastructure allowed them to step in and be nimble, to drop everything and support this call to Minneapolis. All it took was those folks organizing in Minneapolis recognizing that they were a part of something so much larger, that they had institutions they could turn to, and using those institutions for the power of good. Now, none of this is to say that we shouldn't be a little bit skeptical about how organized religion is using its power. The history of church is far too wrapped up in empire to give up all of our skepticism about that. And I wouldn't be a good UU if I asked you to give up all of your skepticism. But sometimes that skepticism makes us a little bit wishy-washy in our relationship to religion, a little half-hearted in our commitment even to the organized religion of which we are a part, the one we grieve and celebrate with, the one we plan our weeks around. And the thing is, in this moment in our world, I don't think we can afford to be half-hearted in our commitments. When we have neighbors who are literally being snatched from our streets, yes, right here in Nashua, when we are wondering whether or not our next elections are going to happen, when we have queer and trans and BIPOC beloved who are wrestling with whether they need to leave the country to keep themselves and their children safe, when every one of the values that we hold most dear are under threat, we cannot afford to be half-hearted right now. We need to put our whole hearts in to harness the power of organized religion for good. The future begins with us and with our choice to be all in. Our UUA Executive Vice President, Carrie McDonald, has said over and over in this past year that now is the time to be obnoxiously UU in public, as loudly as you can. Yeah. Because organized religion does indeed have power, and we can use that power to protect our family and neighbors, to preserve our democracy, to defend our freedom. For all of this, what is needed in this moment is what we are already good at as faith communities. We need that moral clarity and vision for the future. We need sustenance for body, mind, and spirit. We need to be able to mobilize the institutional power of our congregation and our larger association. And we need deep relationships of trust and care. We need communities of faith. We need Unitarian Universalism, and we need your support to come from your whole hearts. This practice of stewardship that we engage in this month invites us to deepen our relationship with this organized religion thing that we still may feel a little skeptical about. It invites us to give of our time and our talents, and yes, money too, to support the work of our faith here in Nashua and in our larger world. As we move through our stewardship campaign this season, over this next month, I invite you to think about what that might look like for you. How can you deepen your relationship with this congregation and with our faith? If you are brand new, maybe it looks like filling out a visitor card so we can add you to our mailing list. Maybe it looks like attending that intro to UU session after church. If you've been around for a little longer, maybe it looks like talking about being a UU with your friends. Maybe it means using our values and symbols the next time you make a protest sign. Maybe it means volunteering in a new way to support our work. I'm always happy to talk to you about that. Maybe it means for you making a financial pledge for the first time. Maybe it means becoming a member officially if you haven't done that yet. And maybe it means looking at what you are already giving and thinking about if you could give a little more. The future begins with us and with our choice to commit ourselves ever more deeply to this faith, which I do indeed believe has the power and potential to save our world. As the poet Rosemary Watola Tromer writes, as we march, as we gather, as we fight for each other, we might as well be divine. We might as well share what is not ours to own and be kind to each other and praise what good we find. This is it. It's like this. Nothing but now. What we bring, who we are, this is all. What we have now is each other and our power to come together for good, for our values, and for our future. So may we move into the future with our whole hearts, and may we do it together.